What's up, Warpath? I wanted to make a video today. This is New Year's Eve, my time. About 20 minutes until the new year, so we might bring this in together. But I wanted to make a video today about the C4 matchmaking. And give everyone, guys and girls, some insight on when I get to this screen and I'm seeing all these new alliances in this case where I'm not familiar with any of these alliances. What do I look for? When I'm looking for allies and when I'm thinking about these are the opponents we're going to be facing. What am I looking for to kind of get a grasp on their effectiveness as an alliance? So this might give you some insight picking teams for yourself or again addressing the enemies. So this can be a little bit overwhelming when you think don't have a lot of time, or last time we picked allies didn't work real great. So this is just what I do, and it doesn't take a ton of time. In this case, we have 8 alliances. Some of the conquests where you have, on a lot of the lower silver, you can have tons of alliances. It takes obviously a little longer. But let's get right into it. So when I'm looking at alliances to see again friends or enemies, what do I look for? Um, Obviously, if you can see, my alliance has by far the lowest overall power at this moment. Um, 7 billion, 6.5, 6.5, so 5. So that's just one factor is the overall power, and this number does change. So if there's people in the other alliance that are buffed up, that will affect this number. And for us, if there's some of us that don't have our full power on display, that will also affect that number too. So that's something to take in consideration. I don't, that is a factor, but I like to get into the alliances and actually take a look to give me a better idea. So believe it or not, what I like to do is I come into these every alliance and I actually look at each member individually. And there's a lot of reasons to do that. So if we go out here and we just say, oh, here's a good power. I see some good powers here. The average for Silver 1, if you have all your units running, is somewhere around 300 million, give or take. So if I'm seeing a lot of bases around that, level, I'm seeing some high ones. These powers will come down because it is a restricted conquest. But if this is all you're looking at, you're not giving yourself a real good level of insight into what to expect from the battlefield. I'm going to show you right now. So I actually click on each member. Not every member. There's some of the small, tiny bases, right? No need. I click on the bases that have a similar power level to kind of an effective fighting base in the conquest, which in this conquest it maxes around 300. I'm going to look at 200 and just a little bit south of that too. So the first thing you want to look at is how many kills do they have. So I would say on average, good, decent number around this conquest is, let's say middle of the line is probably about 600,000. Um, I'm just making that up at the moment, but so in this instance, you know, it's not terrible. It does have some kills. 500, just a little bit south of that. Um, doesn't really tell you a ton right out the bat though. So the big thing you want to look at is tech power. Building power is max is there's a limit. You can only have so many walls. You can only have so many things in your base, but tech power is pretty much as far as this guy can go. And I've faced some incredibly, excuse me, difficult players that have extremely high tech, and that makes things complicated. 60 million is actually a little low. I would say right around 90 is about average. And then the other huge thing that Lilith just added is this right here. Total kills of commanded army groups, total losses of commanded army groups. This is a tremendous statistic that tells us a lot of things. Um, you know, I would say close to 1 million in these numbers is probably good, or at least above 500,000 is really that they're pretty active in commanding army groups. This you can see is a little low. I'm not picking on any individual player. I just go through them all, and I'm just kind of showing you the process. So a little bit low on kills here, but he does like to run some army groups. This is actually pretty decent numbers as far as he's going to be running some army groups throughout the conquest. So as you can see, this is a pretty big power here. These were a little bit lower, and I'm not picking on individual members. And I'm not saying anything about these people, and actually how they play. I'm just trying to look at it overall. It's really just about statistical advantages and disadvantages as a whole, kind of either as allies or as enemies. So I'm not by any means ragging on any specific player here. So this person power's a little high. That's going to come down with the restrictions. These are really good amount of kills. It's going to be one of the top, probably one of the top kills for the conquest. 129 million tech power. So this you can see with the power, with the tech, this is one of the highest techs you will see in Silver 1. So this is going to be a very difficult amount of technology that he has. Going to give him a tremendous advantage. So very powerful player, very high kills, great player. Now we go down to the army groups. Doesn't like to run a lot of army groups. It looks like he will if he or she they will if they have to. Um, so this is also a factor too. So not really huge on army groups. Probably does a lot of base to base individual fighting. Um, but he will run they will run army groups if they have to. So altogether, pretty effective, pretty decent player. So that's the main thing that I like to do, and I'm telling you, I go through just about every base. So as you can see here, like I said, 300 is about kind of max. So I will probably like the 180. Let's just take a look here. So the other main thing to look at is all-time power. So if you see 180, their all-time power could still be close to 300 million. You have to look at this statistic too. But I'm looking at the kills, I'm looking at the tech, right? And so it's not really a big. I'm not really that concerned um, because I'm looking at other aspects too. Um, and let me show you why real quick. I'm gonna get out of this. Right now, my power is currently 185. And if people go to the alliance and they say it's 185, top is um, 300. It's probably not a factor, but you have to look because my all-time power is 300. I just have a lot. I don't have a lot of units trained right now because it's matchmaking. I like to just, excuse me, matchmaking. I like to just keep my activity kind of chill so I don't throw off any of the warpath, how they like to grade things and stuff. So I just like to kind of chill out for matchmaking. But this is the number reason why you can't just look at this number. You have to come in here and look at this and just say, okay, this is actually the real power. This is just the current power. So you do have to come in there and look at that. So let's get back in here. So that's basically the gist of it. You go through, you look at all these accounts. I saw this guy earlier, kind of a cool, cool account here. Is 1.84 million kills. Excuse me. Is 50, almost 60 million tech. So it's actually probably just a little bit of a younger account. It's a lot of kills and a few army group kills. So again, they will get in army groups if they have to. Um, so that's one of the big things that I like to do. Go through and check all these different bases to get an idea what you're up against, right? It doesn't really take a lot of time. 90, it's about average. Small amount of this. Of army group kills and 64. So you kind of get an idea of how effective an alliance is, and if you really want to, you can actually count how many bases are, let's say, like above 600, 500,000 kills or something to that effect. So 90, that's about average. Army group definitely likes to lead some army groups. So that's what I like to do. I go through all the bases, come through here. Let's say, yeah, I mean, I would probably check all of these. Most people's powers are going to be pretty close to their current power and their all-time right, pretty close usually. But I recommend that you do check if it's even at that 190, 180 level. So again, if you're coming to the screen, you're thinking, geez, do I just, we just see what happens. Like if you just look at this screen, you're going to be leaving out a lot of different information from the individual players and the alliance. So I recommend you get in there, go through, see what the individual players are doing. See, this is a great account here. Almost a million kills, 115 million tech, and they're running, sorry, I keep saying he. I don't know if it's man or woman, but they're running a good amount of army groups. This is a great account, very effective player on the battlefield. Um, 700 is a good amount of kills. Tech power is pretty solid and decent amount of army groups. So that's what I like to do. So if this page is a little bit intimidating to get to this and say, what do I do? Did just give you a little bit of insight. Go through those alliance member players, get a real feel for where they are at as a group, and it'll give you a better insight into their effectiveness as an alliance. Sometimes you'll go through and there'll be no kills. Everybody's here is pretty balanced, but you'll go through the players. Nobody has any kills. Nobody really has any army group leading, and that just tells you that they're here to kind of have fun, grow their base, and do a lot of farming. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you do need to be aware of how to be able to see if that's the case. So always check on it. Like if you come in here, and this is low, not saying it's terrible by any means, but if you see this is extremely low, you come in here is extremely low. I'm not saying this player, but I'm saying if you come in and everybody's like that, that's a farmer alliance, right? They're just there to have fun and to grow their base and enjoy the game. Just this is just how you're going to be able to see that. There are, in my opinion, there's been a couple of exceptions to this kind of when you look at alliances this way. Um, Sometimes I hate to say, but if there's a cheater alliance where they'll have a couple of strong players and they'll have a bunch of players. Oh, that's a lot of kills. Good amount of kills. So if you have a lot of people who, geez, see right there, you have 3 players that are all about a million kills or more. Already off to the start, they're going to be active. They're going to be in the field fighting. Right? That's how you get a feel for alliances, just simply by clicking on that. 4 in a row, very active. 5 in a row, right? So now you're getting, a better insight into this alliance than just looking at the screen and saying, everybody's about the same. So, okay, is that 6 in a row? 6 in a row, right? You get some insight into their alliance really quickly by clicking on those buttons. Um, But like I was saying, sometimes you'll get an alliance where a lot of people are like 500,000 or less. You have a couple of strong players, but what'll happen is that if they're cheating, they're multi-boxing, right? There's one strong player running 5 other small accounts. They will be a very difficult alliance to beat. That is a problem that I've ran into, and it can throw off, how you're seeing alliances that they're not very strong and they're actually incredibly strong because of that system. The other factor is that they're not cheating, they're just very active and very effective with army groups. So that's another way that this can be thrown off a little bit. I think this is okay. But this is a great example. Let's just look at a couple of these bases just to see some more effectiveness of it. So 245 million, you can see the all-time is 230. His tech, their tech is a little bit low, 47, but again, it's a little bit less of an all-time power for the count. So, it's not really a terrible tech power, it's just a little bit low. Super good Really good army group kills and losses. He actually has more kills, so that's awesome. Ton of work put in here. Very, very effective player here. I want to go through a couple of these just to give us a little bit of an idea what I look for. Just because it's all kills, what else do we look at? So 91 million, like I said, that's a really solid average of effectiveness for Silver 1. Kills are also really good. Or Army group kills super good. This person likes to lead army groups, so I'm telling you right off the bat, this is a very effective alliance. Like I said, they're all excuse me, they're all above about a million there. 92 again, and this person doesn't run as quite as many army groups, but still very effective in the field as probably adds troops to groups or just does a lot of solo playing, which is still very effective and works can work wonderfully when your other players are running a lot of groups. So I'm just going to look at a couple of these to give you just some of the things I look at. So 94 million tech, good tech. And so right here. So this is the kind of stuff you have to watch out for. 6 million troops lost and over 4 million troops killed in army groups. This is a ridiculous number here. I don't know if we'll find anyone else in this conquest with this number. This is why you have to look a little bit more in depth because this will change. Oh, something going off in the background. This will change the effectiveness of the battlefield. So, as you can see, they already have, what was it, 6 players of above a million kills. They have a lot of these players are very good at army groups, and you have this player with a ridiculous amount of army group leadings. This is why you have to look into the individual players a little bit because it if you're just looking at the power, right, it's completely different. Not a lot, but still some, right? They're still going to run a group when they have to or when they need to. And this was the other million player, 110. It's a little high. That's good. And runs a ton of army groups. So I'm going to tell you, from what I'm looking at, this is going to be an extremely effective alliance. Not saying they're going to, blow everyone out. No, but I'm saying they're going to be a very good alliance. Very effective. What I just look at. So that's basically the gist of it. Get into those bases, look at those different bases, see those different metrics of their effectiveness on the battlefield. That's going to change how you are picking allies and choosing who you're going to be fighting against. And again, you don't always get to choose that, but this will give you some insight on how to approach them, right? If you're going to come against that alliance head on, you're going to want to probably bring some bases with you, some other players. Be very cautious and also looking for opportunities to strike them, right, in an advantage. It tells you a lot just by looking at their bases. Instead of just going out there and, you know, completely finding out the hard way, right? That happens. That's the name of the game. But this is just some insights. This is what I like to do. Almost every conquest I go through, just about every base that's kind of close to the fighting power. So I hope this can help you guys a little bit, and please feel free to ask any questions, and I can try to answer them. So have a great day, and have a happy New Year, and good luck in this C4. So talk to you guys later.